Russia is claiming to have retaken full control of a town in the Kursk region that fell to Ukrainian troops shortly after their shock offensive last summer. The town of Sudzha was the biggest spot seized by Kyiv after its cross-border assault in August. Ukraine now risks losing its grip on the border region entirely. For the very latest developments from there, let's bring in France 24's Kyiv correspondent Gulliver Cragg. Gulliver, what is the Ukrainian side saying so far about Russia's claim of taking back this territory in Kursk?
Well, basically, the Ukrainian side is neither confirming nor denying it so far. You might expect them to deny it if they thought that it was possible to deny it. Often in similar situations, for as long as Ukrainian forces have held on to at least a small bit of a given town, the Ukrainian officials have officially denied that Russians have taken it. And it has been clear for several days that Ukrainian forces were in great difficulty in Sudzha after Russian forces had the ruse of crawling through a pipeline to get into the town centre. They've been making gains there, possibly also having benefited from that pause in United States intelligence sharing with Ukraine after the debacle in the Oval Office on the 28th of February. We don't know yet, though, whether or not the Ukrainian forces definitely will withdraw or be forced out of Sudzha, and whether that means that they will be forced out of the whole of the part of Kursk Oblast that they occupied last August, or whether they'll try to hang on to at least a small part of it. But there's certainly a sense here that, well, first of all, that the situation is critical there, and also that they did very well to hold on to it for as long as they did.
Now, Gulliver, of course, all of this is coming as a U.S. delegation is set to be in Russia now to talk about the terms of a possible ceasefire with Ukraine. What are Ukrainians expecting to come out of that?
Well, a lot of Ukrainians, ordinary Ukrainians that I've spoken to on the streets of Kyiv and who are posting on social media, seem very skeptical that Russia will accept the terms of a ceasefire at all. Experts, pundits and some politicians are actually saying that maybe Vladimir Putin will, but what they're expecting is that he will not unconditionally agree to the 30-day ceasefire as proposed by the United States and accepted by the Ukrainian side at that meeting in Saudi Arabia, but will try to impose more conditions, details, caveats. And one of those, which a lot of people were speculating on, was this question of Sudzha and the part of Kursk region in Russia that Ukraine occupied. Perhaps Vladimir Putin's going to accept the ceasefire only once he's forced all the Ukrainian troops out of Sudzha. He visited the Kursk region yesterday and ordered his troops to force the Ukrainians out of that region as soon as possible. It might be that he only needs a couple of days before the ceasefire would take effect in order to finish the job off there. There might be other conditions that the Russian side would want to impose, though. Certainly they've put forward numerous conditions for peace talks going forward further, which is similar to the ones that they've been talking about all along, such as neutrality for Ukraine, Ukraine never joining NATO, the vast swathes of territory that it occupies in Ukraine, but not only those, more on top of those. But those are all for the peace talks, as I understand it, that might take place once there's a ceasefire in place. They're not necessarily conditions that Russia would apply to the installation of just a temporary ceasefire.